Hey there, everyone. So are you feeling like you're ready for a more fulfilling next chapter? Maybe like something's missing. If so, you're in the right place because today we're diving deep into You 2.0 by Dr. Abhay Gupta. This book is like a cheat sheet for leveling up your relationships and finding more meaning, especially in midlife. And we're going to skip the vague advice and go straight into the actionable strategies that you can use today to become, well, a better version of yourself through stronger connections. So, are you ready? Let's get started. So first, let's tackle that nagging feeling that so many of us get in midlife. You know that feeling when those big career wins just don't feel as exciting as they used to? Yeah, well, turns out there's actually a scientific reason for this, and it's something called the midlife social shift. Basically, it's that point when our priorities naturally start to, well, change, I guess. I mean, we've hit those career milestones, we've checked off the boxes, and now we crave something more. Deeper connections, more fulfilling connections with the people we care about most. And what's really interesting is that the famous Harvard study of adult development, which followed people for 8 decades, confirms this. They found that close relationships are the single biggest predictor of happiness and longevity, not wealth or fame. 8 decades of data. That's pretty crazy. But here's the catch. Even though we know relationships are important, we often let them slide in midlife, especially when we get caught up in work and family obligations and those daily stresses. And that's when those connections that we cherish start to fade. The book calls this social drift. Like, think about a ship slowly drifting off course. If you're not actively steering, you'll end up somewhere you didn't intend to be, right? And it's the same thing with our relationships. In fact, Dr. Gupta uses the story of Sarah, a high-powered executive, to illustrate this. Sarah was so focused on success that she, without even knowing it, let her friendships slip away. It wasn't until she realized she had no close friends outside of work that she had that, aha moment and started rebuilding her social life. Her story is a powerful reminder that these relationships need tending, just like anything else. We can't just assume they'll always be there. So how do we prevent this social drift and strengthen those vital bonds? Well, You 2.0 breaks it down into 4 key areas: consistency, vulnerability, shared interests, and mutual support. Okay, so let's start with consistency. Think about it this way. You wouldn't skip watering a plant for weeks and expect it to thrive, right? Relationships need consistent nurturing too. This could be regular check-ins, shared experiences, even just those little gestures that say, I'm thinking of you. Vulnerability is a little bit different. This is where real intimacy is built. It's about being open and honest about our emotions, about our challenges, our dreams. It's being authentic. And that authenticity actually fosters trust and deepens connection. But here's the thing. Vulnerability is a two-way street. It requires both people to be willing to let their guard down. Next, shared interests. This one's pretty intuitive. Having common goals, hobbies, or values creates a really strong foundation for connection. Think about what you and your closest friends enjoy doing together, or what topics you talk about for hours. Those shared interests provide that spark that keeps the relationship engaging and fun. And finally, mutual support. This is the giving and receiving of emotional encouragement. True friends celebrate our wins. And of course, they offer a shoulder to cry on when things get tough. It's about knowing that you have someone in your corner no matter what. So Dr. Gupta reminds us that strong relationships don't just happen. They actually require effort and intention, just like anything else we value in life. He even includes a checklist to help us audit our current relationships. It asks questions like, do you regularly engage with the most important people in your life? Or, do you have at least 1 or 2 close friends you can talk to about anything? This checklist is a great way to pinpoint areas where you might need to invest a little more. So now let's get specific and strengthen specific types of relationships, starting with romantic partnerships. Whether you're in a long-term marriage or a newer relationship, midlife brings unique challenges and opportunities to, well, your relationship. Think about it. Kids are growing up, maybe moving out, careers are evolving, our own interests are changing, and let's face it, we're not the same people we were in our 20s. All of this can lead to distance and dissatisfaction if we're not careful. But here's the good news. Dr. Gupta actually sees midlife as a chance to reinvent and re-energize our relationships. The key, he says, is conscious effort, open communication, and a willingness to evolve together. It's not about going back to how things used to be, but about creating a new chapter that reflects who you both are now. And, every couple faces challenges, right? Emotional distance, communication breakdowns, maybe a loss of intimacy, growing apart, even financial stress. These are all common hurdles in midlife. But You 2.0 doesn't just list the problems. It offers practical solutions for each one. It's like having a relationship therapist in your pocket. For example, to combat emotional distance, Dr. Gupta suggests prioritizing quality time together. And this isn't just sitting on the couch watching TV. It's creating new shared experiences that reignite that spark. Remember those early days of dating? The excitement of discovering new things together. Tap back into that.
Yep.
And to improve communication, that, perennial relationship challenge, he recommends scheduling weekly relationship check-ins. This might sound a little structured, but think of it as a dedicated time to discuss needs, challenges, and dreams openly and honestly. No more passive-aggressive notes on the fridge, right? And to reignite that spark, yes, even after years together, Dr. Gupta encourages couples to be more intentional about physical and emotional connection. This could mean trying new things together, maybe surprising each other with those thoughtful gestures. You can even improve your health and well-being as a team. Remember, when you feel good, your relationship benefits too. And one of the most insightful points Dr. Gupta makes is that a lot of relationship problems stem not from a lack of love, but from a lack of attention. We get so busy with life that we forget to nurture the connection. It's like, a plant. If you don't water it, it withers, right? So how do we rebuild emotional intimacy and reignite communication? Well, Dr. Gupta has some great tips. He suggests practicing active listening. That means truly hearing and understanding your partner's perspective, not just waiting for your turn to talk. He also encourages expressing appreciation daily. Those little thank yous and I love yous go a long way. And don't underestimate the power of sharing personal goals and fears. This level of vulnerability deepens connection and fosters trust. Oh, and remember that 5.1 rule I mentioned earlier. This is gold. It means for every criticism you give your partner, offer 5 positive affirmations. Think about it. We're all wired to respond better to positive reinforcement than to criticism. It's about creating a more supportive and encouraging atmosphere in your relationship. And to really drive home that point, Dr. Gupta uses a case study about Dave and Lisa, a couple who had fallen into a roommate-like routine. They were both so consumed by their careers that they had very little time for each other. To turn things around, they started implementing small but consistent changes. Weekly relationship meetings where they could discuss their needs, 1 date night per week focused on quality time, and daily gratitude journaling. And guess what? Within months, their emotional bond was stronger than it had been in years. Their story proves that even small, consistent actions can create a huge shift. Speaking of sparks, let's talk about reigniting physical and romantic intimacy. It's natural for desire and affection to ebb and flow over time. Hormonal changes, stress, and even just falling into a routine can impact our libido. But don't worry, there are absolutely ways to rekindle that flame. Dr. Gupta reminds us of the power of physical touch, even those non-sexual gestures like holding hands or hugging. These simple acts actually release oxytocin, the bonding hormone, and strengthen that sense of closeness. He also encourages couples to, introduce some novelty into their relationship. Think about new activities, adventures, even just surprising each other with small, thoughtful gestures. Remember, new experiences trigger dopamine, which helps bring back those feelings of excitement and attraction. And here's a tip that might surprise you. Improving health and well-being together can be incredibly bonding and boost your libido. Exercise, proper sleep, and stress management not only benefit your physical health, but also improve relationship satisfaction and increase that sense of connection. Of course, open and honest communication about needs and desires is essential. Talking about intimacy, what you enjoy, and what you'd like to explore, removes pressure and fosters deeper connection. Remember, intimacy thrives in an environment of trust and vulnerability. And U 2.0 also reminds us that a healthy romantic relationship requires both physical and emotional closeness. Couples who regularly engage in physical affection tend to report higher relationship satisfaction. It's that simple touch matters. Now, let's talk about another common challenge, growing apart instead of growing together. As we evolve in midlife, our interests and priorities might start to diverge. That's natural. But it can lead to a sense of distance if we're not careful. To combat this drift, Dr. Gupta suggests developing shared goals. These could be travel plans, business ventures, even social causes you're both passionate about. It's about finding those things that unite you and give you a sense of purpose as a couple. But remember, it's just as important to support each other's individual growth, encourage your partner's passions and hobbies, even if they're not things you share. This shows respect, understanding, and prevents resentment from building up. One of my favorite suggestions in the book is to learn new things together. This could be taking a class, attending a workshop, even just reading a book and discussing it. It keeps things interesting and provides opportunities for growth both individually and as a couple. And don't underestimate the power of revisiting those relationship milestones. Reminiscing about past experiences and creating new memories together strengthens that bond and reminds you why you fell in love in the first place. It's like taking a trip down memory lane and rediscovering all those things that made you click. And to show us that it really works, Dr. Gupta shares the story of Jack and Emily, a couple who had been married for 25 years. Jack and Emily realized that they had very few shared interests left. They were worried about drifting apart. To reconnect, they joined a travel club, started volunteering together at an animal shelter, and even signed up for a cooking class. These shared experiences breathed new life into their marriage and helped them grow closer than ever. It's a beautiful reminder that relationships need to evolve to stay vibrant. Stagnation leads to distance, but shared growth strengthens the bond. Now, this is a topic that no one likes to talk about, but let's be real. It's part of every relationship. Conflict. The good news is that Dr. Gupta doesn't shy away from this. He acknowledges that conflict is a natural part of any relationship. What matters is how we handle it. So he outlines several healthy conflict resolution strategies that can help couples navigate disagreements without causing lasting damage. And the best part is, these strategies work in all kinds of relationships, not just romantic ones. One of the key principles is to focus on solutions, not blame. Instead of getting stuck in the who's right, who's wrong game, shift the conversation towards how can we fix this together? It's a subtle shift, but it makes a huge difference. And here's a tip that might save you from saying things you'll regret. Take timeouts during heated arguments. This isn't about avoiding the issue, but about preventing those impulsive reactions that can escalate things quickly. Give yourselves time to cool down and then come back to the conversation with a clear head. And when you do communicate, here's a language trick that can completely change the tone. Use I statements instead of you accusations. For example, instead of saying, you never listen to me, try saying, I feel unheard when we talk. You see the difference. I statements focus on your own feelings and experiences, which is much less likely to trigger defensiveness in your partner. Another incredibly insightful point Dr. Gupta makes is that understanding each other's conflict styles can prevent so much unnecessary friction. Some people need space to process before addressing a problem, while others prefer to resolve things immediately. Recognizing these differences helps you approach conflict in a way that feels respectful and productive for both of you. He even provides a helpful checklist to assess whether you're resolving conflicts effectively. It asks questions like, do you listen to understand rather than respond? And do you avoid bringing up past mistakes in new arguments? These are great reminders to help us stay focused on healthy communication and resolution. And Dr. Gupta emphasizes that healthy couples repair conflicts quickly. It's not about avoiding disagreements altogether, let's be real, that's impossible. But it's about handling them with respect and a solution-focused mindset. So we've covered a lot about revitalizing romantic partnerships. But remember, You 2.0 is about more than just love. It's about building a richer life through all our connections. So let's move on to another crucial aspect of midlife relationships, family. As we navigate this stage, family dynamics change too. Parents are aging, kids are becoming independent, even connections with siblings and extended family can weaken if we're not intentional about maintaining them. And Dr. Gupta stresses that strengthening family bonds in midlife is about more than just spending time together. It's about creating meaningful connections, improving communication, and supporting each other through these significant life transitions. He sees midlife as an opportunity to redefine and strengthen those family relationships so they remain a source of support, connection, and joy. So first, let's talk about aging parents. Dr. Gupta points out that for many of us in our 40s and 50s, a role reversal starts to happen. Our parents, who once cared for us, might now need our support, whether it's emotional, financial, or physical. This could be a challenging adjustment for both sides. Parents might struggle with health concerns, loneliness, or financial insecurity, while adult children might feel overwhelmed balancing caregiving with their own careers and families. And communication can get tricky too, as perspectives and priorities shift. To navigate this transition smoothly, Dr. Gupta suggests prioritizing regular communication with your aging parents. This could be weekly calls, visits, or even video chats. The key is to stay connected and prevent feelings of isolation. He also advises having open and honest conversations about future needs, like discuss healthcare plans, financial security, and living arrangements before they become urgent issues. This proactive approach can save a lot of stress and heartache down the road. And remember how I mentioned shared experiences are important for couples. Well, same applies to relationships with our parents. Engage in hobbies, go on trips, even work on projects together. These shared activities create lasting memories and strengthen that bond. And above all, practice patience and empathy. Aging can be a frustrating and emotional process for both parents and their children. Try to understand their perspective and be there for them as they navigate this new chapter in their lives. The book includes a heartwarming story about James, a busy executive who had unintentionally drifted apart from his father. After realizing the importance of family, James made a conscious effort to reconnect. He started having weekly breakfast meetings with his dad, asking about his life stories and getting to know him on a deeper level. He also helped his father organize his retirement finances, providing peace of mind and strengthening their bond. James's story shows that even small, consistent actions can make a big difference in rebuilding and strengthening those connections with aging parents. It's never too late to reconnect. Now let's shift gears and talk about the other end of the family spectrum, our relationships with adult children. As our kids grow up, our role as parents naturally evolves from authority figure to mentor and advisor. This transition can be tricky. Young adults crave independence, but they still need guidance even if they don't always admit it. Our expectations might not align with their aspirations, and let's face it, letting go of that control we've had for so long can be tough. But it's essential for a healthy, fulfilling relationship. And Dr. Gupta has some fantastic advice on how to foster a strong connection with your adult children. First, respect their independence. Instead of giving orders or dictating choices, offer guidance only when asked. And be genuinely interested in their passions, even if they're different from yours. Engage in meaningful conversations about their careers, relationships, and dreams. This shows that you care and value their choices, even if you wouldn't have made the same ones. Setting clear boundaries and mutual expectations is also crucial. Discuss things like financial independence, household responsibilities, and personal space openly and honestly. This prevents misunderstandings and resentment down the road. And here's an interesting tip. Be open about your own growth and learning. Share your personal development experiences with your kids. This creates mutual understanding and shows that you're still evolving as a person, just like them. It also opens the door for deeper conversations. And Dr. Gupta includes a helpful checklist to assess whether you're supporting or controlling your adult children. It asks questions like, do you offer guidance without imposing expectations? And do you respect their career and life choices, even if they're different from yours? It's a great way to check in with yourself and make sure you're approaching the relationship in a healthy and supportive way. He shares a case study about Lisa, a high-achieving lawyer who had a tendency to micromanage her daughter's career choices. When she noticed resistance and distance growing between them, Lisa realized she needed to change her approach. She shifted from directive conversations, like, you should do this, to supportive ones, what are your thoughts about? She also reframed her role from enforcer to mentor, offering guidance and support without dictating the path. This shift strengthened their relationship and allowed her daughter to blossom into her own person. It's a reminder that letting go of control actually deepens those bonds. So we've talked about aging parents and adult children, but what about those relationships that often get overlooked, like siblings and extended family? It's so easy to lose touch as life gets busy. But Dr. Gupta reminds us why these connections are worth the effort. Siblings, with their shared history and unique understanding, offer a kind of emotional grounding we can't find anywhere else. And cousins and extended family provide a broader sense of belonging and create a wider support network. So midlife is the perfect time to reconnect with these relatives if you've drifted apart, or to deepen those bonds if you already have a good foundation. You can start with simple things. Schedule regular check-ins, even if it's just a quick phone call or text message. Reignite family traditions, organize annual reunions, holiday gatherings, or even virtual meetups if distance is a factor. If there are past conflicts lingering, make a conscious effort to let them go. Holding on to old grudges only prevents relationships from moving forward. And you can also consider collaborating on family projects. This could be anything from ancestry research to charity work to even family investments. Working together strengthens those connections and creates a sense of shared purpose. And Dr. Gupta wisely points out that rebuilding these bonds often requires one person to take the initiative. So why not let it be you? Reach out, reconnect, and rediscover the joy of these important relationships. And while we're on the subject of family, let's talk about the power of traditions. Dr. Gupta highlights why traditions are so vital for strengthening family connections. They create shared memories and a sense of continuity across generations. They provide stability and comfort during times of change, and they reinforce cultural and family values, passing them down to future generations. It's about creating a shared history that binds you together. Here are a few ways to make traditions even more meaningful. Reignite old ones that might have fallen by the wayside, whether it's holiday meals, weekend hikes, or annual vacations. If you don't have many established traditions, create new rituals that your family can enjoy together. Game nights, storytelling sessions, or even writing legacy letters, where you share wisdom and advice for future generations, are all great options. Make sure your traditions are inclusive, involving multiple generations to deepen the connection. and don't be afraid to adapt them for a modern lifestyle. Incorporate virtual meetups for family members who live far away, or find creative ways to modernize old customs. And to really illustrate this, Dr. Gupta shares a case study about Sarah, a business owner who realized her extended family wasn't as connected as they once were. To reignite those bonds, she took the initiative to revive an annual family reunion, bringing together relatives who hadn't seen each other in years. She also created a shared digital family album for everyone to contribute to, and organized themed virtual game nights to keep the connection going year-round. This revived tradition became a highlight for the entire family, strengthening their bond and creating lasting memories. It's proof that traditions, big or small, keep families connected across generations. So make them a priority in your family life. So we've covered a lot about strengthening family relationships across generations. But what about those all-important friendships? How do we maintain long-term bonds and make new meaningful connections in midlife? That's what we'll explore next. Dr. Gupta emphasizes that friendships matter, even more than ever in midlife. As we navigate this stage, our careers, families, and personal responsibilities often take center stage. And that leaves less time and energy for our friends. The friendships that were once effortless, the ones we formed in school, early career years, or through shared experiences, now require intentional effort to maintain and strengthen. While some friendships naturally fade over time, others can be revitalized and deepened, and this leads to greater emotional well-being, support, and life satisfaction. Those long-term friends provide continuity and emotional grounding. They remind us of who we are and where we've come from. Deepening bonds with existing friends reduces loneliness and social isolation, which, sadly, is becoming more prevalent in our always connected, yet often disconnected world. Close friends also serve as a vital support system during career changes, family transitions, and those inevitable life challenges. And reconnecting with old friends can strengthen our sense of identity, reminding us of shared experiences and values that have shaped who we are. And Dr. Gupta's key takeaway is that friendships in midlife shouldn't be left to chance. We have to be proactive about nurturing them, just like any other important aspect of our lives. So why do friendships fade in the first place? Well, the book outlines several common reasons for that midlife friendship decline. Life transitions, like demanding careers, parenthood, or even relocation, can shift our priorities, making it harder to stay in touch. Then there's that sneaky social drift again. Those small gaps in communication can snowball into years of silence if we're not careful. Sometimes our interests simply diverge over time, leading to fewer shared experiences and a weakening of the bond. One-sided effort can also take its toll. If one person is always the one reaching out, it can lead to imbalance and resentment. And of course, misunderstandings or unresolved conflicts can create emotional distance, making it difficult to reconnect. And Dr. Gupta makes a really important point here. Most friendships don't end because of major blowouts. They fade due to neglect and lack of communication. It's like that plant metaphor again. If you don't water it, it eventually dies. So how do we rekindle those old friendships that might have slipped away? The book offers a helpful checklist with practical tips on how to reconnect with an old friend. So first, start with a simple, low-pressure message. Something like, "Hey, I was thinking about you today. How have you been?" is a great way to break the ice without feeling awkward. Then, acknowledge the gap openly. Don't try to pretend it hasn't been a while. Instead, say something like, "I know it's been a while, but I'd love to catch up." Next, express appreciation for past experiences. Remind them of a fun memory you shared or a reason why you value their friendship. Then, suggest a casual way to reconnect. This could be a coffee date, a phone call, a virtual chat, or even attending a shared event. And finally, avoid dwelling on the gap. Focus on moving forward and rebuilding the connection. Dr. Gupta shares a heartwarming story about Monica and Lisa, who are best friends in their 30s but drifted apart due to work relocations and family responsibilities. After 10 years of silence, Monica decided to reach out. She sent Lisa a simple, heartfelt message expressing how much she missed their conversations and suggesting they catch up sometime. Lisa responded enthusiastically, and they rekindled their bond through shared memories and laughter. Now, they schedule monthly calls to stay connected, proving that it's never too late to revive a meaningful friendship. The key takeaway here is that most people are open to reconnecting. It just takes one person to make the first move. So often we overthink things and assume the other person isn't interested. But you might be surprised at how receptive they are. Now, let's talk about deepening those existing friendships. Having acquaintances or casual friends is great, but building truly meaningful connections requires deeper emotional investment. So how do we move beyond those surface-level interactions and create stronger bonds with our close friends? Well, Dr. Gupta offers several practical tips. First, prioritize quality over quantity. One heartfelt conversation is worth more than 10 superficial check-ins. Second, engage in shared experiences. Plan trips together, start a book club, join a fitness challenge, or collaborate on creative projects. These shared activities create lasting memories and strengthen the bond. Next, practice vulnerability and emotional support. Share your personal challenges, victories, and fears with your close friends. This fosters deeper trust and creates a sense of mutual understanding. Then celebrate milestones together. Be there for your friends during birthdays, promotions, personal achievements, and other important moments in their lives. This shows that you care and value their journey. And finally, check in on their mental and emotional well-being. Sometimes a simple, "How are you really doing?" can go a long way. These small gestures show that you're truly invested in their well-being and create that sense of safety and support that true friendship is all about. Now, here's an important reality check. Not all friendships are meant to last forever. Some naturally evolve or fade, and that's perfectly okay. Dr. Gupta offers guidance on how to let go of friendships that no longer serve you without feeling guilty. First, acknowledge the shift. Sometimes friendships simply run their course. There doesn't always need to be a dramatic ending or a big conversation. Second, evaluate your emotional energy. If a friendship feels one-sided, draining, or forced, it might be time to let it go. You deserve to be in relationships that energize and uplift you, not deplete you. And remember, sometimes friendships transition from daily check-ins to occasional updates. This is a natural evolution and doesn't mean the connection wasn't meaningful. People change, priorities shift, and that's okay. Respect different life stages. People grow and change, and their paths might diverge. This doesn't diminish the value of the connection you shared, it just means it's taking a different form. And if a friendship becomes toxic, set boundaries. If interactions consistently cause stress, resentment, or negativity, it's okay to distance yourself. Your well-being is paramount. Dr. Gupta provides an example of Tom and Eric, who were inseparable in their 20s, but found their friendship becoming more effort than enjoyment as their careers and interests diverged. Instead of forcing weekly meetups, they shifted to quarterly catch-ups, respecting their different lifestyles and letting go of guilt. Their story illustrates that friendships can evolve without ending. Sometimes a change in dynamic is all it takes to preserve the connection in a way that feels authentic and fulfilling for both parties. So let's recap those key points about friendships. Long-term friendships provide continuity, emotional grounding, and support. Reconnecting with old friends requires simple, intentional outreach. Don't overthink it. Deepening existing friendships involves emotional investment and shared experiences. And it's okay for some friendships to evolve or fade. Just focus on nurturing the ones that bring you joy and fulfillment. Dr. Gupta's challenge to us is to choose one person this week, an old friend or close connection, and reach out. A simple message can be all it takes to restart a meaningful friendship or deepen an existing one. What do you have to lose? Now let's move on to another crucial aspect of social well-being. Making new friends in midlife. You might be thinking, isn't that something we leave behind in our younger years? Well, but Dr. Gupta assures us that making new friends in midlife is not only possible, but can lead to some of the most rewarding connections we'll ever have. And he acknowledges that it's a different process than in our childhood or early adulthood. Back then, friendships formed naturally through school, shared activities, and those early career environments. But in midlife, our social circles tend to shrink. Careers, family responsibilities, and personal commitments take priority, and existing friendships might no longer align with our evolving interests and values. Social settings become less structured, and we might feel hesitant or awkward about initiating new connections. But despite these challenges, Dr. Gupta argues that midlife is actually one of the best times to expand our social circle. Why? Because friendships formed at this stage tend to be more intentional, values-based, and deeply rewarding. We're more self-aware, we know what we're looking for in our connections, and we're better equipped to nurture those bonds. We're not just looking for party buddies, we're looking for people who get us, who share our values, and who support our growth. So how do we overcome those barriers to making new friends in midlife? Well, Dr. Gupta addresses 3 common obstacles. First, the jar. First, the "I don't have time" excuse. We're all busy, but strong relationships actually reduce stress. They increase happiness and contribute to long-term well-being. So think of friendships as an investment, not another thing on your to-do list. One solution is to kind of combine friendships with things you're already doing. So join a friend for a workout, meet a business contact for coffee, or maybe even invite a mentor to lunch. This way you're, socializing without adding extra things to your already packed schedule. Okay, so the second barrier is the "it's hard to meet like-minded people" dilemma. Unlike those early years when random social interactions were more frequent, finding the right people in midlife requires more intentionality. So for this one, Dr. Gupta suggests putting yourself in environments where potential friendships can develop naturally. Think interest-based groups, professional communities, or even just structured activities that align with things you're passionate about. Basically, you want to go to where the people who get you are. And finally, the third obstacle is the I feel awkward initiating conversations hurdle. A lot of us are out of practice when it comes to starting conversations with strangers, right? We fear rejection or social awkwardness, and so we hold back. But here's the thing. Most people feel the same way. Dr. Gupta's advice is to focus on asking open-ended questions and showing genuine interest in others. I mean, people appreciate someone who is engaged, warm, and a good listener. Instead of worrying about what to say, you should focus on making the other person feel heard and seen. So where do we actually meet new people in midlife? Well, the book provides a pretty helpful list of the best places to find like-minded people. One option is professional networking groups. These connect you with ambitious people who share your, career interests. Then you have interest-based clubs, whether that's hiking, photography, writing, or anything else you're passionate about, which allow friendships to form naturally through those activities. And then there are fitness and wellness communities, which build camaraderie through routine, teamwork, and shared goals. Another good one is volunteering and community service, where you can connect with value-driven individuals who are passionate about making a difference in the world. And of course, you have book clubs and discussion groups that encourage deep conversations and intellectual connections. Oh, and alumni and school reunions are also great because they offer a chance to reconnect with people you might have lost touch with over the years. The key here is to choose activities that naturally bring people together over time. I mean, long-term friendships develop through repeated interactions and a shared sense of purpose, right? It's all about finding your tribe. But meeting new people is just the first step. The real work lies in deepening those connections. So how do we move beyond that initial small talk and actually build real friendships? Dr. Gupta provides a really helpful checklist to kind of guide us in transitioning from acquaintances to friends. The first thing is, follow up after the first meeting. Send a simple message saying, it was great chatting today. Let's meet up again soon.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to take the initiative. Then suggest a one-on-one meetup. This could be like coffee, lunch, or an activity-based gathering. This gives you a chance to get to know each other better without the pressure of a large group setting. Then, once you get to know each other better, try to find a shared interest. Identifying common passions gives you something to bond over and helps keep the friendship engaging. Think about what you're both excited to talk about. What do you both love to do? And of course, be consistent and reliable. Show up for plans and make an effort to check in regularly. This demonstrates that you value the connection. And finally, balance talking and listening. Genuine friendships thrive on mutual emotional investment. Make sure you're both sharing and actively listening to create a sense of balance and understanding. To show that this really works, Dr. Gupta shares a case study about Priya, a lawyer who joined a local photography club. Priya met Sarah, a fellow enthusiast, and instead of keeping things surface level, Priya took the initiative to deepen their connection. She invited Sarah to a weekend photo walk, followed up with a shared project idea, and even introduced her to another mutual friend, expanding their network. And guess what? Within months, their acquaintance blossomed into a deep and meaningful friendship. Their story illustrates that friendships don't just happen. They require initiative, follow-up, and shared experiences to truly flourish. Now let's talk about social confidence, or, the lack of it. For many of us, the hardest part of making new friends is starting conversations, right? We feel awkward, we fear rejection, and so we'd rather just blend into the background. But Dr. Gupta assures us that social confidence can be built with practice. It's like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. And to help us approach new people without feeling awkward, he offers a few tips. First, start with small, low-stakes interactions. Compliments, casual remarks, and shared observations are great icebreakers. You don't have to launch into a deep conversation right away. Then use open-ended questions. Instead of asking yes or no questions, try something like, what made you join this group? Or, what are you most passionate about? This encourages conversation and shows genuine interest. Here's a subtle trick. Try mirroring the other person's energy. Adjust your tone and body language to match theirs. This creates a sense of rapport and makes the interaction feel more natural. People subconsciously feel more comfortable with those who are like them, so this mirroring technique can really help break the ice. But most importantly, take the initiative. Most people appreciate when someone else makes the first move. So go ahead, introduce yourself, strike up a conversation, and see where it leads. You might be surprised at how easy it can be once you get over that initial hesitation. Now, while expanding our social network is definitely valuable, it's also important to avoid burnout and maintain balance. I mean, we don't want to overcommit and end up feeling overwhelmed, right? So Dr. Gupta offers some great advice on how to sustain friendships without feeling like our social calendar is ruling our lives. First, rotate your social interactions. Don't try to see everyone every week. Spread out your commitments so you have time to recharge between social events. Remember, quality over quantity. Speaking of quality, you should also prioritize those deep friendships over having a bunch of casual acquaintances. A few close friends who truly get you are more valuable than 100 superficial connections. And, don't feel pressured to be friends with everyone you meet. It's okay to be selective. Focus on those connections that feel genuine and energizing. Oh, and set boundaries. It's okay to say no if you're feeling overwhelmed. Your true friends will understand. You also want to balance your social time and personal time. Make sure you have enough time for yourself to recharge and pursue your own interests. A fulfilling social life requires you to be fulfilled as an individual, so don't neglect those things that bring you joy. And finally, here's a time-saving tip. Integrate socializing with things you're already doing. So combine networking with workouts, hobbies, or even career-related events to make the most of your time. And one more thing that Dr. Gupta reminds us of is that a sustainable social life is about consistency, not frequency. Even occasional meetups keep friendships alive. So let's recap those key points about making new friends in midlife. First, it requires intentionality. You have to place yourself in the right environments, the places where people who share your interests gather. Then, you have to follow up and nurture those budding friendships. Don't just exchange contact info and then disappear. Make plans to connect again. And don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Social confidence comes with practice, and the rewards of a rich and fulfilling social life are worth the effort. And so, Dr. Gupta challenges us to attend a new event, join a group, or reach out to someone we'd like to know better this week. Take that step and see what amazing connections await. You might be surprised at who you meet and the friendships you form. Now let's shift gears and talk about networking, but not in the traditional business card sense. In midlife, networking should evolve beyond just career advancement and those, transactions. It's about building meaningful connections that enrich both our professional and personal lives. So Dr. Gupta encourages us to rethink networking in midlife, to shift from a transactional approach to one that prioritizes authenticity and shared purpose. He points out that, many professionals reach their 40s and 50s with this pretty robust professional network, but they lack those deep, authentic relationships that bring true fulfillment. Networking events can start to feel exhausting and transactional. We're constantly exchanging business cards and making superficial connections, but we're not building genuine bonds. So Dr. Gupta challenges us to move beyond those surface-level interactions and seek out like-minded individuals who share our values, interests, and personal growth goals. Basically, he believes the most valuable networks are not just about career growth, but about shared purpose, mutual support, and expanding perspectives. It's about finding your tribe, the people who inspire you, who challenge you to think differently, and who support your growth on multiple levels. So how do we make that shift from traditional networking to building those purpose-driven relationships? Well, traditional networking is all about exchanging business cards and making strategic connections for career benefits. It's very focused on what you can get out of the connection. But midlife networking, on the other hand, should prioritize finding people who inspire and challenge you to grow. It's about engaging in conversations that go beyond business, like discussing values, life goals, and aspirations. It's about building relationships that offer emotional and intellectual fulfillment. And it's also about giving back and providing mentorship to others. To show us the difference, Dr. Gupta provides this helpful table comparing traditional networking to midlife networking. He points out that traditional networking is often focused on short-term benefits, while midlife networking is about building long-term relationships. Traditional networking usually happens at conferences and corporate events, while midlife networking might take place in mastermind groups, learning circles, or even social impact networks. And the primary goal of traditional networking is, getting ahead professionally, while midlife networking is about building a fulfilling and supportive network that enriches your life on multiple levels. Basically, midlife networking is about building a tribe, not just a contact list. It's about finding those people who you resonate with, who share your values, and who make you feel seen and understood. So where do we actually find these purpose-driven connections? Well, Dr. Gupta suggests several environments that are, kind of ideal for midlife networking. Mastermind groups and learning circles are small, curated groups where professionals collaborate on personal and career growth. They offer a safe and supportive space to share ideas, challenges, and goals with like-minded individuals. It's like having a personal board of advisors who are invested in your success. Then you have industry-specific communities, which are private networks for senior professionals, business owners, and thought leaders. These provide opportunities to connect with people at a similar stage in their careers and learn from each other's experiences. Another great option is philanthropy and nonprofit involvement. This is a fantastic way to connect with value-driven individuals who are passionate about making a difference in the world. It's a chance to give back, expand your network, and find a sense of purpose beyond your career. You also have retreats and personal development events, which offer a unique opportunity to deepen relationships through shared transformative experiences. These events often attract people who are committed to personal growth and open to connecting on a deeper level. Then there are online communities and virtual think tanks, which allow you to engage in meaningful discussions with people from all over the world. This is a great option if you're looking to expand your network beyond geographical limitations. And finally, professional organizations with a social mission offer a balance between career success and personal fulfillment. These organizations often host events and create opportunities for members to connect on both a professional and personal level. To show how this works in real life, Dr. Gupta shares a case study about John, a 50-year-old marketing executive who was feeling burned out by traditional networking. So he decided to try a different approach. John joined a leadership mastermind group focused on innovation and personal growth. He started mentoring younger professionals, which led to some, kind of unexpected career opportunities. And he attended a retreat on conscious leadership, where he formed deep and meaningful friendships. And within a year, John's network was more fulfilling, inspiring, and energizing than ever before. His story shows that the right networking environments can lead to richer, more rewarding relationships. It's not about attending every event or collecting business cards. It's about finding those spaces where genuine connection happens naturally. But now that we've found the right environments, how do we actually build these meaningful professional and social relationships? Well, Dr. Gupta outlines 4 key pillars of meaningful networking. The first one is to give before you ask. Offer value to your connections without expecting anything in return. This could be sharing your expertise, making introductions, or just offering a listening ear. When you approach networking with a generous spirit, it changes the entire dynamic. Second, deepen your conversations. Go beyond the typical what do you do small talk. And ask questions that get to the heart of what matters to people. Ask about their passions, their purpose, and their dreams. Show genuine interest, and you'll be surprised at the depth of the connections you form. Third, stay in touch consistently. Relationships take time and effort to nurture, right? So make a conscious effort to check in with your connections regularly, whether it's a quick message, a phone call, or maybe even a coffee date. It's about showing up consistently and demonstrating that you value those connections. And finally, diversify your network. Don't limit yourself to people who are just like you. Connect with individuals from different industries, backgrounds, and experiences. This will broaden your perspective and open you up to new opportunities, both personally and professionally. Dr. Gupta also provides a checklist to help us assess whether we're building meaningful professional relationships. He asks questions like, do you offer value and mentorship to others? And are you connecting with people who challenge and inspire you? It's a great reminder to be intentional about the connections we're making and the value we're bringing to those relationships. And he reminds us that the best networks don't just open doors. They enrich our lives on multiple levels. They provide support, inspiration, and a sense of belonging. So now let's talk about social media and digital networking. A lot of professionals rely on these platforms to build and maintain connections. But it's easy to get lost in the noise and lose sight of our purpose, right? So Dr. Gupta encourages us to navigate social media and digital networking with intentionality. We should focus on quality over quantity. And so he provides some helpful tips on how to optimize our use of different platforms. For example, on LinkedIn, he suggests engaging in thoughtful discussions, sharing insights, and connecting with people beyond just looking for jobs. It's about building your professional reputation and establishing yourself as a thought leader in your field. On Facebook, he recommends joining groups that align with your, personal values, hobbies, or professional interests. This is a great way to connect with people who share your passions and engage in conversations that matter to you. On Twitter, he encourages following and interacting with thought leaders. Engaging in meaningful conversations, staying informed, sharing your own perspective, and building relationships with people who inspire you. And on platforms like Clubhouse and podcasts, he suggests participating in or starting topic-based discussions that foster connection and learning. It's about using your voice to share your expertise and connect with others who are interested in the same topics. But he reminds us that digital networking can be incredibly powerful, but only if it leads to real-world conversations and connections. Don't let those online interactions replace face-to-face relationships. Think of social media as a way to initiate connections that you can then nurture offline. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room. Can social media be used for meaningful connection, or is it just a source of distraction and superficiality? Dr. Gupta believes that social media can be a powerful tool for building genuine relationships, but it all depends on how we use it. He encourages us to move beyond passive scrolling and actually engage in conversations, comment on posts, ask questions, and interact with people who share our interests, making it a two-way street. You could also use social media to enhance those real-world relationships, connect with people online, and then make plans to meet up in person. But be intentional about who you follow. Curate your feed so that you're seeing content from people who add value to your life, inspire growth, and foster positivity. Remember, you're in control of what you see. You should also avoid toxicity in online arguments. Unfollow, mute, or block people who create stress and negativity. Your mental health is more important than keeping up with every drama. And finally, use digital platforms to build new communities. Join groups related to your interests, whether it's hiking, photography, entrepreneurship, or anything else that lights you up. It's a great way to connect with people who share your passions and learn from each other. Dr. Gupta reminds us that if our social media experience is leaving us feeling anxious, envious, or frustrated, it's time to reassess who and what we're engaging with. Our digital world should be a source of connection and inspiration, not negativity and comparison. It's about taking control of our online experience and making it work for us, not against us. So we've covered a lot about networking and social media, but now let's move on to another crucial aspect of a fulfilling life: community engagement and giving back. Dr. Gupta believes that as we enter midlife, we often start reflecting on our legacy and the impact we want to make on the world. We realize that true success is not just about what we accumulate, but about what we contribute. He points out that many midlife professionals experience a shift in their priorities. We still care about financial success, but we also crave more fulfillment beyond our careers. We begin to understand that helping others creates a deeper sense of meaning and purpose, and we shift from focusing solely on individual achievements to seeking ways to make a collective contribution. It's about leaving the world a little bit better than we found it. And community engagement offers a really powerful way to connect with like-minded individuals through service. It's a chance to use our skills and experience to make a difference in the lives of others. And Dr. Gupta emphasizes that the benefits of community involvement go far beyond just helping those in need. Giving back actually enhances our own lives in numerous ways. It strengthens our social connections, increases our happiness and well-being, exposes us to new learning opportunities, gives us a sense of purpose, and even reduces stress and anxiety. It's a win-win. We make a difference in the world and we feel better doing it. He reminds us that community engagement enhances our mental and emotional well-being while also making a meaningful impact on the world around us. So how do we find the right cause or community to support? Well, Dr. Gupta provides a helpful checklist to guide us in choosing a cause that aligns with our values, skills, and passions. He encourages us to ask ourselves questions like, what issues do you feel strongly connected to? What breaks your heart? What do you want to change? Do you prefer hands-on involvement or behind-the-scenes support? Do you like working directly with people? Or would you rather contribute your skills in a different way? Would you rather contribute time, expertise, or financial resources? What are you best equipped to offer? Do you want to engage locally or globally? Do you want to make a difference in your own community or contribute to a cause on a larger scale? And what level of commitment can you realistically sustain? Be honest with yourself about how much time and energy you can dedicate. He reminds us that the best community involvement is consistent and meaningful, not overwhelming. It's about finding a cause that truly resonates with you and committing to making a difference in a way that feels sustainable. It's not about being perfect. It's about showing up and doing what you can. And there are a ton of ways to engage with our communities and give back. Dr. Gupta highlights several different methods, each with its own unique benefits. You have mentorship and coaching, where you can share your experience and knowledge with younger generations, guiding them on their own paths to success. It's about paying it forward and helping others achieve their dreams. Then there's volunteering for a cause, which provides hands-on support to organizations that are addressing issues we care about. It's about getting involved at the grassroots level and making a tangible difference in the lives of others. Another option is serving on boards and committees, which offers a chance to use our leadership skills to shape strategy and make a bigger impact. It's about using our influence to create positive change within organizations that are making a difference. You also have organizing community events, which brings people together, fosters a sense of belonging, and raises awareness for important causes. It's about building community and creating opportunities for people to connect and support each other. Then there's pro bono professional work, which allows us to use our expertise in fields like law, finance, business, or healthcare to support organizations that might not have the resources to hire professionals. It's about using our skill to empower those who are working on the front lines of social change. And finally, philanthropy and fundraising provide financial support to initiatives that align with our values and interests. It's about investing in the causes we believe in and helping to fuel the work of organizations that are making a difference. And Dr. Gupta shares this case study about Tom, a retired executive who was struggling with a loss of direction after leaving his corporate career. So instead of withdrawing, Tom decided to use his skills and experience to give back. He became a mentor for young entrepreneurs, guiding them through business challenges and sharing his wisdom. He served on a nonprofit board, helping shape strategy for a cause he cared deeply about. And he even started a scholarship fund for students in underserved communities. These acts of service redefined Tom's post-career identity and gave him a renewed sense of purpose and fulfillment. His story is a reminder that giving back doesn't have to be this grand gesture. It's about finding ways to make a difference, big or small, that align with our values and passions. Now, one of the most common concerns people have about community engagement is finding the time. We're all busy, but Dr. Gupta assures us that even small, consistent actions can create a major impact over time. He offers some helpful tips on how to sustain community engagement without feeling overwhelmed. The first tip is, start small. You don't have to commit to volunteering 40 hours a week. Even dedicating a few hours per month can make a difference. It's about finding a level of involvement that feels sustainable for you. Another tip is to leverage your existing skills. So use what you're already good at to make an impact. If you're a great organizer, volunteer to help plan events. If you're a skilled communicator, offer to write newsletters or website content for a nonprofit. You can also join an organization with a flexible commitment. Not all volunteering requires long-term dedication. Find opportunities that fit your schedule and allow you to contribute in a way that feels sustainable. The good way to make it more fun is to combine social and service activities. So volunteer with a group of friends. Or involve your family in giving back. This makes the experience more enjoyable and strengthens your relationships at the same time. But most importantly, make it personal. Choose causes that truly inspire and energize you. When you're passionate about the work you're doing, it won't feel like a chore. And Dr. Gupta reminds us that long-term involvement is more impactful than short bursts of activity. Consistency matters more than intensity. So find a cause you care about and commit to making a difference in a way that feels sustainable for the long haul. So now let's talk about resolving conflicts in our personal relationships. And he identifies some of the most common conflicts that come up in midlife, like with spouses or partners, disagreements often, like center around finances or parenting or lifestyle choices, those big decisions that can really cause friction if you're not on the same page. Then with adult children, conflicts might stem from those generational gaps in values, maybe career aspirations, or even just, approaches to independence. It's that whole balance between letting go and still offering guidance. And with aging parents, disagreements often come up around caregiving and those life decisions that you have to make. And this can be especially tough because, roles are shifting and emotions are running really high. And of course, with close friends, misunderstandings or feelings of neglect can, lead to tension and distance. And sometimes those little hurts can build up if they're not addressed. So to help with this, Dr. Gupta offers some, I guess you could say helpful tips on how to resolve personal conflicts effectively. So first, you have to acknowledge those emotions. Recognize that personal conflicts often have those deeper emotional roots. So take some time to really understand your own feelings and the feelings of the other person involved. Like what's actually driving the disagreement? What are those underlying needs and fears? Second, try to choose face-to-face or voice communication instead of sending text messages. Digital messages lack tone and nuance, which can easily lead to misunderstandings and even escalate conflict. So when you're dealing with those more sensitive issues, try to have a phone call or an in-person conversation whenever possible. Third, ask, what outcome do we both want? Shifting that focus to solutions really lowers defensiveness and encourages collaboration. So instead of getting all caught up in who's right or wrong, focus on finding that resolution that works for everyone involved. And finally, don't keep score. Relationships aren't about winning arguments, right? They're about preserving trust and understanding and that connection. So try to let go of the need to be right all the time. Focus on building a stronger, healthier relationship. And to illustrate this, Dr. Gupta shares a case study about two best friends who had kind of grown apart because of a misunderstanding. But instead of letting resentment fester, one of them decided to take the initiative to reconnect. They met in person to discuss the issue, openly and honestly. They acknowledged mistakes on both sides rather than blaming each other. And they committed to monthly, catch-ups to rebuild their connection. And their story shows the power of humility and forgiveness and that willingness to put in the effort to repair a damaged relationship. And sometimes it's not about who was right or wrong, but about choosing that relationship over the argument. But it's important to acknowledge that not all relationships can be saved, or, well, I guess should be saved. So Dr. Gupta also talks about toxic relationships, acknowledging that these connections can, drain our energy, create stress, and even hinder our personal growth. And he identifies some common signs of a toxic relationship: consistent emotional manipulation or guilt tripping. Do you feel like you're always walking on eggshells around this person? One-sided effort with no reciprocation, or you always the one initiating contact or making plans? Frequent disrespect, passive aggressiveness, or that unresolved negativity. Does this person constantly criticize you or put you down? And that feeling when you feel exhausted, anxious, or just undervalued after interactions. Do you feel drained and depleted after spending time with this person? So if you're in a relationship that exhibits these signs, it might be time to consider distancing yourself. I mean, you deserve to be in relationships that uplift and empower you, not drag you down, right? And if that's the case, he offers some advice on how to kind of gracefully remove yourself from those toxic connections. First, set clear boundaries. Let the person know what behavior is unacceptable and what the consequences will be if those boundaries are crossed. Second, reduce contact with the person if you need to. You don't have to cut them out of your life completely, but you can limit your interactions to protect yourself. And third, communicate firmly but respectfully. You don't need to start arguments or drama. Just state your boundaries and then disengage if the person becomes, disrespectful or manipulative. And also, avoid those unnecessary arguments or drama. Don't give them the satisfaction of a reaction. Surround yourself with positive influences. Spend time with people who uplift and support you. And remember, healthy relationships energize you while toxic ones drain you. So know the difference and always prioritize your own well-being. Dr. Gupta concludes this section on conflict resolution by, highlighting the power of healthy communication and a commitment to finding solutions. And he reminds us that conflict is definitely inevitable, but our response is what determines the outcome. Emotional intelligence is the foundation of effective conflict resolution. And difficult conversations, when they're handled well, can actually strengthen relationships rather than break them. And he encourages us to protect our energy from those toxic connections and focus on building relationships that bring us joy and support and fulfillment to our lives. So now let's move on to a topic that's absolutely essential for social success: emotional intelligence, or EQ. And Dr. Gupta argues that emotional intelligence becomes even more important in midlife, because in our younger years, we might have been able to kind of get by with just technical skills and knowledge, right? But as we navigate the complexities of midlife, whether it's in our careers, our families, or our social circles, emotional intelligence becomes really important. It becomes the key differentiator. And he explains that emotional intelligence, or EQ, determines how well we handle workplace politics, leadership roles, and collaborations. It impacts how deeply we connect with our partners, our children, and our extended family. And it ensures mutual respect, strong communication, and lasting trust in our friendships. So it's the secret sauce that can really make or break our relationships. And unlike IQ, which remains relatively stable throughout our lives, emotional intelligence can actually be developed and strengthened at any age. So Dr. Gupta emphasizes that the ability to read emotions, control our reactions, and manage social dynamics is one of the most valuable skills that we can develop in midlife. And it's never too late to become more emotionally intelligent. So what exactly is emotional intelligence? Well, Dr. Gupta breaks it down into 5 key components: self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. So self-awareness is that ability to understand our own emotions. It's about recognizing how we're feeling, why we're feeling that way, and how our emotions impact our thoughts and behaviors. Basically, it's being in tune with ourselves. Self-regulation is that ability to kind of manage our emotions even when things are stressful. It's about staying calm, avoiding those impulsive reactions, and expressing our emotions in a healthy way. Basically, being in control of our emotions rather than letting them control us. Motivation is the ability to, use our emotions to drive productivity and purpose. It's about channeling our feelings into positive action, setting goals and working towards them with, enthusiasm, determination. So it's using our emotions as fuel for our dreams. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of others. Like putting yourself in their shoes, seeing the world from their perspective, and responding with compassion. It's about connecting with people on a heart level. And finally, social skills are the ability to navigate social interactions effectively. So, things like building rapport, communicating clearly, resolving conflicts constructively, and building strong, lasting relationships. Basically, it's the art of human connection. And Dr. Gupta points out that developing self-awareness and empathy can really improve both our personal and professional relationships. Because when we understand ourselves and others better, we can communicate more effectively, build stronger bonds, and even navigate conflicts with more, grace and understanding. Now, despite all the benefits of emotional intelligence, a lot of professionals struggle to develop this crucial skill set in midlife. So why is that? Well, Dr. Gupta identifies a few common reasons. So, maybe we prioritize logical thinking over emotional awareness. We live in a culture that often values rationality over, emotionality. And so we might be suppressing our feelings or even dismissing them as unimportant. Or maybe we associate those emotions of weakness rather than strength. We might have been taught to toughen up or hide our feelings, leading us to think that emotions are, something to be ashamed of. Or maybe we focus on results rather than relationships. We might be so driven to achieve our goals that we neglect those human connections that make life meaningful. And maybe we simply never learned about emotional intelligence. It's not really something that's taught in schools or workplaces, right? So we might be lacking those tools and strategies to develop this, pretty crucial skill set. To show us this, he shares a case study about David, a 50-year-old executive who was, highly respected for his business skills, but he struggled with relationships. His employees found him, intimidating, and he often clashed with his spouse because of misunderstandings. But instead of blaming others, David decided to kind of work on developing his emotional intelligence. He started practicing active listening, paying attention to what others were saying without interrupting or, planning his response in his head. He began pausing before reacting emotionally, giving himself some time to process his feelings and choose a more, constructive response. And he learned to acknowledge and express his emotions in a healthy way, rather than suppressing them or, letting them explode. And within just 6 months, David's workplace relationships got a lot better, and his personal life became more fulfilling. His story shows that emotional intelligence can be developed at any stage of life. It just takes a willingness to learn, practice, and, make a conscious effort to improve our social skills. So how do we actually strengthen emotional intelligence in our daily interactions? Well, Dr. Gupta offers some practical techniques for developing each of those 5 core components. So for self-awareness, he suggests keeping an emotion journal. Track your feelings throughout the day and notice any, patterns or triggers that emerge. What situations consistently make you feel angry, frustrated, or anxious? What brings you joy, peace, or contentment? By paying attention to your emotional landscape, you can gain valuable insights into yourself. He also recommends asking for honest feedback from, trusted friends, family, or colleagues. How do they perceive your reactions in, conflicts? What are your strengths and weaknesses when it comes to emotional intelligence? Sometimes an outside perspective can help us see things we might miss on our own, and he encourages us to practice mindfulness. Take those deep breaths and ground yourself in the present moment before responding to, intense or challenging situations. This pause gives us a chance to kind of regulate our emotions before reacting impulsively. And he reminds us that if certain interactions constantly trigger frustration or other negative emotions, it's a sign that, we might have some unresolved emotional patterns that need to be, addressed. Maybe it's a fear of rejection, a need for control, or a pattern of people-pleasing. By becoming aware of these patterns, we can start to change them and create healthier relationships. Now, for self-regulation, he recommends practicing the 10-second rule. So when we're faced with a frustrating situation, pause for 10 seconds before reacting. This gives us time to, calm down, process our emotions, and choose a better response. So it's about responding, not reacting. He also suggests labeling our emotions accurately. So instead of saying, I'm angry, try reframing it as, I feel unheard, or, I'm feeling disrespected. This helps us to better understand our own feelings and communicate them more effectively. And he encourages us to channel our emotions into productive action. So, for example, if you're feeling stressed, you can convert that stress into motivation to, tackle a challenging task, or maybe find a solution to a problem. It's about using our emotions as fuel, rather than letting them overwhelm us. He uses the example of Lisa, a 45-year-old entrepreneur who received negative feedback on her latest project. Instead of reacting defensively or shutting down, Lisa paused before responding, and she acknowledged the feedback with curiosity. And then she asked clarifying questions to better understand the concern. And her approach, well, it not only helped her to regulate her emotions, but it also strengthened her leadership reputation and led to a, productive resolution. And Dr. Gupta emphasizes that regulating our emotions really turns challenges into opportunities for growth and learning. When we can manage our reactions, we can approach difficult situations with more, clarity, confidence, and compassion. Now let's talk about empathy, which is, well, arguably the most important component of emotional intelligence. Empathy is that ability to see the world from someone else's perspective, to understand and share their feelings, even if we don't necessarily agree with them. And to strengthen those empathy muscles, Dr. Gupta offers a few tips. First, practice deep listening. So when someone is talking to you, really listen to what they're saying. Don't interrupt, don't plan your response in your head, and don't multitask. Give them your full attention and focus on understanding their message, not just the words, but the emotions that they're expressing. Second, try mirroring emotions subtly. Reflect the tone and energy of the person you're speaking with. If they're excited, match their enthusiasm. If they're feeling down, offer a supportive presence. This mirroring creates a sense of rapport and connection. It shows that you're on the same page and that you care. And third, ask yourself, what is this person feeling? Try to step into their shoes and understand their, emotional experience. This simple act of perspective taking can really reduce those misunderstandings and miscommunication. It allows you to see the situation from their point of view, even if you wouldn't have reacted the same way. And to illustrate this, Dr. Gupta shares a case study about John, a CEO who noticed, declining employee engagement at his company. And instead of demanding better performance or cracking down on productivity, John decided to approach the situation with empathy. So he held one-on-one conversations with his employees to understand their frustrations, their concerns, and their ideas. And he actually listened to their feedback and made some adjustments to company culture based on what they said. And he made a conscious effort to express gratitude and appreciation for his team's hard work. And within a year, team morale and retention improved significantly. John's story demonstrates the power of empathy in leadership and the positive impact it can have on both, individuals and organizations. Okay, so now let's talk about the final component of emotional intelligence, social skills. A lot of professionals, despite years of experience in the workplace, struggle with social skills. This might be because they haven't really put in the time and effort to maintain friendships, or maybe they feel uncomfortable in social situations, or networking events, where they simply, focus on tasks rather than people. But Dr. Gupta assures us that social skills can be learned and improved at any age. It just takes practice and a willingness to, step outside our comfort zones. So to help us with this, he offers a checklist of some, simple but effective ways to improve those social skills. First, make eye contact when you're talking to someone. This shows that you're present and, engaged. Show open and engaged body language. Uncross your arms. Face the person you're talking to. And lean in slightly to show that you're interested. Ask follow-up questions to, keep the conversation going. This shows that you're actually listening and that you care about what the other person has to say. And avoid multitasking when you're speaking with someone. So put away your phone. Close your laptop. And give that person your full attention. Give genuine compliments and show appreciation. Everyone likes to feel, valued and appreciated. And finally, follow up on past conversations to show that you care. This could be a simple, text message or an email or a phone call to check in and see how they're doing. These small gestures can make a big difference in how we're perceived by others and the strength of our relationships. It's about making people feel seen, heard, and valued. So Dr. Gupta concludes this section by emphasizing that emotional intelligence is a, lifelong superpower. It impacts every part of our lives, from our careers to our families to our friendships. And the good news is, it's something that we can continue to develop and strengthen throughout our lives. Self-awareness, empathy, and emotional regulation are really the keys to social success. And practicing these skills in our daily interactions will lead to, deeper, more fulfilling relationships. So in closing, just remember that You 2.0 isn't just a book. It's a roadmap to a richer, more connected life. It's about understanding that relationships aren't a distraction from success. They're the foundation of it. It's about investing in the connections that matter most and reaping the rewards of a life filled with love, purpose, and joy. So go out there, be intentional, and start building those connections today. Your future self will thank you for it.